Good morning, beautiful people. My name is Asha Winiata, and welcome to episode 1 of the Ascension journey. In this episode, I'm going to discuss some of the key moments that have led me to this very moment in time, my experience with domestic violence and how it affected my child, my destructive behaviors after that relationship and the relationships I've formed with other people, how I found myself at rock bottom, and how I came out of that and met the love of my life. So thank you so much for joining me. Let's get straight into it. So just quickly, I want to lay some statistics out there on the table. With domestic violence, there is at least one woman killed each week from her partner or former partner. 1 in 5 women experiences sexual abuse from the age of 15. 40% of women experience domestic violence even after they separate from that person. There are a plethora of different types of abuse that occur within a domestic violence situation. There are physical abuse, financial, emotional, verbal, social, and sexual. And I think there's even more than that, but they're just the ones that I can think of at this point in time. Now, my story with domestic violence starts when I was 14 years old, when I met my first love and I had started a new school. Now, the abuse didn't start until my 16th birthday, but even prior to that, it was a very, very toxic relationship, very, very controlling, very manipulative. He wanted my whole world to be solely about him. And if you know me as a person, I'm very independent, and I like doing things my way, and I'm very stubborn. So we clashed a lot, but like I said, he was very controlling. Now, the physical abuse started on my 16th birthday, and I remember it so vividly. We were at his house and we had had an argument, and he had been threatening to slit his wrist with a butcher knife. And then there was a point where I had grabbed the knife and I said to him, how would you like it if I was threatening you with a knife and threatening to cut myself? And that's when he punched me on each side of my face and knocked me unconscious. And that's where it started, and it only got worse and worse and worse from there. Not long after my 16th birthday, I had found out that I was pregnant, and being 16, young, dumb, naive, and in love, I thought that being with the father of my child was the be-all and end-all, and that's what I needed to have a good family outcome, was to be with this person. So I suffered abuse throughout my whole pregnancy and after, even during my labor and birth. I experienced all of those things that I had mentioned earlier: physical abuse, financial abuse. He would take all of our money out of my account. He would spend it on himself, spend it on his friends, buy alcohol and drugs, and we would be left with nothing. I literally sometimes would not have any money to feed my child or buy her nappies. Emotional abuse, I suffered that every single hour of every day that I was in a relationship with this person. I was constantly belittled, told I wasn't good enough, told that I wasn't worthy, and I was made to believe that those were all true. Socially, I was abused. He destroyed all the friendships I had with other people. He would message my friends on behalf of me, pretending to be me, and, say horrible things to them about our friendship and how they mean nothing to me, and how I wish I had never met them, and blah blah blah, just to absolutely destroy those friendships so that I would only ever be dependent on him. So for a long chunk of that relationship, he is the only person that I had any contact with. If I went to the shops, he was always there. I could never do things on my own unless it was with him or his parents, or his friends. I was never ever allowed to have friends of my own unless he was supervising, and I was left at home a lot as well by myself. So it was a very dark and lonely time in my life. As well as social abuse, I also experienced some sexual abuse as well. Now, when you are in a completely catastrophic relationship, you end up completely hating that other person. And I mean, I hated him. I still, to a degree, this day, hate this person for what he did with me. If I had refused to have sex with him, he would continuously hit me and punch me in the back of my head or anywhere on my head, just not my face. He would hit me all over my body, kick me, bite me, strangle me until I succumbed, so that it wouldn't be classified as rape because I had consented. So I would just lie there and let him have his way with me so that it would just be over and done with. I couldn't physically and emotionally keep handling, the pain. So I would just let him have his way with me. Now, I remember very vividly the last sexual encounter that I had with this person, and it was the evening of a friend's funeral, and I had refused to have sex with this person. We were on our way home in a taxi from a friend's house after the wake, and he was forcing himself on me, forcing his fingers into me, even though I repeatedly asked him to stop. And then when we went inside, it just continued. He ended up raping me, and I couldn't walk for a few days after that because it just went on and on and on for hours. I couldn't urinate. It hurt too much to go to the toilet. I couldn't touch down there because it was so sore. And, it was one of the most traumatic experiences of my life, being in this relationship. And I don't think I've completely healed from it, but I have to some degree. I don't believe in forgiving someone who isn't sorry for their actions. And I don't believe he's sorry for anything that he's done. I've never received an apology. And I think even if I did receive an apology, I don't think I would accept it. I have moved on from it, but I don't think he deserves forgiveness. And I never think I will forgive him. So, how did I decide to leave the situation? So, you hear a lot of people who have never been in the situation say, oh, well, she made the choice to stay in this relationship. She made a choice not to leave. Sometimes that choice literally is life or death. If you value your life and you don't want to die, that is why you stay in that situation. I had come to the point in my life where I would have preferred to be dead. I didn't want to see this person anymore. I would have preferred to be dead than have to spend one more moment in his presence. Not only that, but the abuse had incredible detrimental effects on my child. She was assuming blame for things that would happen. She would say things like, if I was a good girl, maybe daddy wouldn't hit you, maybe daddy wouldn't smack you. Or she would say to me, Mum, if you just be a good girl, then daddy wouldn't smack you, you wouldn't get in trouble. And I didn't want my child to think that this type of relationship was normal and that this is what she should expect when she grows older in a relationship, because that wasn't love. It wasn't nurturing, it wasn't caring, it wasn't everything that a relationship should be, and it was nothing like a parenting relationship should be. She should have never had to experience that. And those factors combined are what really, really pushed me to leave this relationship. So because I had been threatened throughout our whole relationship, if I had ever left him, he would tell me that he would kill my friends and family, so that I would have nothing left. No, he would kill everybody that I loved, so that I would be in pain. And I believed him because I knew what he was capable of. I knew there were things that he had done violently to other people, And so I thought, you know, I was doing the right thing. I was protecting my loved ones by staying with him. So when I left, I felt like I had nowhere to go. I didn't want to put anybody else in danger. And I also was embarrassed. I didn't want people to know that this is what had been happening to me. I just couldn't share that with anyone else. His mum had a little bit of an idea what was going on. She sensed it. And so one night, in the middle of the night, he wasn't home, and he hadn't been home for about a week. And I called her and I said, I need you to come and get us now. And I literally packed up all of our stuff, and I threw it all in her car. And when we were making our last trip back and to the house, he had, ironically, after not being there for days, showed up at that very moment when we were leaving. And he pinned me on the couch in front of his mother. He literally sat on me so I couldn't leave. His mum forcibly removed him from me, and we literally ran to the car. Lamaya wasn't there at that stage. She was at home with his father. And we literally ran, and he chased us down the road for about 1 kilometer until he stopped chasing. And he was yelling and screaming and all the rest of it. But why I chose to confide in his parents was because out of everybody on this planet, the only person that he was afraid of was his father. And I knew that it was the only place where my child and I were going to be safe was in his house, because he wouldn't have dared cross his father at all, for fear of retribution. Now, I moved in with his family because, again, that's where I felt safest. And then a couple months after that, I got an apartment 2 doors down from his parents' apartment. So it was in the same apartment building, and it was literally a couple doors down. I didn't feel safe enough at that stage to be on my own anywhere. After all of that, and we had gotten a DVO. Now, this is another thing. This is another big misconception, is that if you have a DVO that it protects you. It really doesn't. At the end of the day, it's just a piece of paper, and they can get to you faster than what the cops can. The police will not get there on time if anything happens to you. And after we had moved into this house, he automatically assumed that we were getting back together and that he was going to be moving in with us, which was just not happening. I had made this decision for myself, that this is what was happening, this is what I was doing with my life. And he didn't like that. So he came into my house one day when his father wasn't home, and he, went absolutely crazy. He tried to, destroy my home. He destroyed my personal possessions, and he tried to flee with my daughter. And so his mum, obviously, she lives 2 doors down. She heard all the commotion and she came straight over. And she was literally standing in between the both of us as I was trying to grab my daughter, and he was trying to rip her away from me. And he was hitting me, punching me, scratching me, all at the same time. He was just trying to inflict physical pain on me. And to this day, my child, she was 2.5 at that stage, and she doesn't forget that. She still has nightmares about it to this day. I think her most recent nightmare was just a couple of weeks ago, where she dreamt that he was trying to kill me, and that she had to, kill him before he would hurt me. And that is just absolutely devastating to me as a parent, that she still experiences trauma from that. We've done a lot of work with her to try and get her over those emotional blocks, and to try and push her through the traumatic phase of her life. I had to take her to psychology for a year, until she started to feel safe again, because she didn't feel safe at all. When we after that incident where he tried to remove her, his dad came home straight away, and she just cried to him, and she said to him, "Papa, you have to protect us. You have to protect us from my daddy." And she was 2.5, and that's just heartbreaking. Sorry about that, I've completely regathered myself. So since that situation had occurred, he found himself in jail, and he was there, I believe, for a year or so before he was released again. And during that time, I felt completely safe. I felt like finally this is what I needed to thrust myself into the world again. It just gave me a completely whole new lease on life. It was the most incredible feeling to know that this person wasn't going to be able to hurt me anymore, hurt my child, and put us through any more pain. So for those years I felt completely safe, and it was so relieving. And during that time I wanted to find myself again. I didn't know who I was. I had spent my whole childhood with this person. My childhood was destroyed by this person. So I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who Asha was, and what she could be. And so that started me on another spiral of destructive behavior, where I was going out and I was partying all the time. I was out from Friday to Sunday. I had been having one-night stands with people. I just was attention seeking. I wanted attention. I craved something that I hadn't had before. Where men were genuinely interested in me. I had, completely made up this thing in my mind that if I left this person, that no one would want me. I was a single mum. I had nothing. No one would be interested in me. And then when I had a little taste of it, it just sent me completely out of control. Yeah, like I said, I was, sleeping with multiple men. I was seeking attention, and I felt like I was hurting my ex by, saying fuck you. I am loved by all these people. These men are genuinely interested in me, and I can be with whoever I want, whenever I want. And that just sent me on a completely ridiculous spiral where people were going, oh my gosh, what happened to her? She's so different. She's completely changed. She's gone from this good girl, now she's so bad. And I think every woman that leaves a toxic relationship has that moment in their life where they try to find themselves again and rebuild themselves and try and figure out who they are. I found another group of friends after having been alienated from the outside world for so long, and I formed this beautiful relationship with this one woman who I considered my best friend. We were soulmates. We did everything together. We were so close. I depended on this person for comfort, for security, for support, and for love for, a long time. She was my person. And during that same time, I formed a friends with benefits with somebody, and it was just what it was. There was no expectations from it. And he ended up being a really great support system for me. He was very encouraging. He was very supportive. I felt like we just got each other on a different level. A lot of people would judge the both of us and say we were this and we were that. And, when we were together, it was just, friends. We were just mates. And obviously did other things as well. Now, I liked the idea of being in a relationship with this person, but we both knew that we weren't right for each other. We both didn't want to be in a relationship with each other. And, you know, I think I got sort of lost along the way there with having this idea in my head that, you know, maybe we could be. And like I said, it was the idea of having a relationship, not actually being in a relationship with that particular person. Now, the one rule we had established during that, you know, connection was that we would both stay away from each other's best friends. And I think you can see where this is going. I felt like I needed a change in my life and we needed a fresh start. So I moved to Western Australia, and literally within a week or two of being there, I'd received phone calls saying that, you know, these two people were seeing each other. Now, this completely, like, just threw me off. I wasn't expecting it. It was the ultimate form of betrayal. These two people were like my best friends, and I didn't think like that it would happen. I had formed a trusting relationship between these two people, and I never thought they would both betray me like that. But they did, and it happened. I had really looked up to this woman. I was inspired by her. She's absolutely gorgeous. She's a beautiful person. She had a beautiful body, and she, you know, she was chasing her goals, and she was loving life, and I really craved that. And I think that was a lot of what our relationship was based around, was the fact that I wanted to have what she had, and I wanted to be her because I was inspired by her so much. So when that all happened, I felt like I wasn't good enough. I felt like she was better than me. I held on to those feelings for a very long time, and it was really hard for me to you know, get over that. I had lost my best friend, someone who I loved and trusted. You know, I did care that I had lost him as a friend, but more so this woman. She was everything to me. I loved this girl. So yeah, it was really heartbreaking. My heart was broken. I cried and cried for months about it. And it took me a long time to get over it. You know, there was some resentment there, but it was just mostly hurt. I was just hurt by the whole situation. Yeah, and I don't blame them at all. I think they were coming from a place of love for each other, and they wanted to share that love with each other. And they obviously had an attraction that I couldn't, you know, refuse. So I think now that, like, she's a completely phenomenal woman. She's doing wonderful things with her life, and she's a beautiful person. And I don't have any resentment towards her now. We have connected, and we've both healed from that situation, and I wish her all the best in life, because she deserves it. She deserves happiness in its purest form. And so that situation really catapulted me into the world. I was at a stage in my life where I had no job, I was a single mom, I had no goals and no ambitions. I was just living off the government and living with my parents. So I took a whole year off just everything. I detached myself from people who were toxic in my life, people who had made no positive impact in my life, and I really worked on bettering myself. And that's when I was introduced to the law of attraction, manifestation and gratification. Bye. Sorry, she got over watching The Wiggle, so here she is now. We're still in our pajamas, as you can see. So, yeah, I was thrust into the world of the law of attraction, and it gave me the tools I needed to be a better person. I took a year of just finding myself again. I still hadn't found myself since I had left that first toxic relationship. Didn't know who I was, so I really wanted to make the conscious effort to be a really good person. Huh? Oh, yum. Woo, woo, woo. So I really worked on loving myself. I wasn't looking for a relationship because I knew that I had to love myself first before I could share that love with someone else. I don't think it's fair entering a relationship where you don't love yourself, because it isn't the other person's job to make you see yourself as a good person or to make you see yourself in a loving nature. It's your job. It's your job to do that, and it's your job to nurture your soul and your heart, not the other person's. It's your job to share it with them after. It's your job to share it with them after you found it, and then that's when it hit me. Shit, Cameron. Now, I had met Cameron a few years back. Remember how I discussed those one night stands? Well, my husband was one of those people. And during that time, after we had formed this little connection way back when, it didn't go anywhere because he was such a good guy and he was so genuine and loving and trustworthy. We had already been friends through OzTag and we had already known each other through there. But I just felt like I wasn't good enough for you. I'm not good enough for you. And I wasn't good enough for him at all. He was this perfect person and he deserved so much better. And looking back on it then, like if that had never happened, we wouldn't be married now. That had to happen because we weren't perfect for each other at that stage. But when we had gotten together, we were completely ready, and we were completely perfect for each other. He had been through some toxic relationships as well, where he needed to work on himself. And by the time we came together, we had completely learned how to love ourselves. And then, like I said, we came together and we shared that love together. After that initial, sexual encounter, we just became really good friends and we really built this strong foundation of completely platonic friendship. There was nothing else involved there. There was plenty of great conversations, plenty of venting to each other, plenty of advice and just a support network for one another. He was that type of person where he was just everyone's best mate. He was so caring and loving and so genuine. One day, was sitting in my lounge room and just not thinking about anything, just playing with my daughter at the time, and then I just had this aha moment where he just popped into my head, and then I just started feeling all these feelings for him, and it was just so strange to have experienced that. It was just like gone from completely not thinking about him in that type of way at all, and then to being having these butterflies for him. It was just really weird. So our love story is my complete favorite story. And all the moments leading up to it, we played a lot of sport with each other. So we spent a lot of time away with each other. And at the end of each tournament, we always found ourselves together, again, completely platonic, just talking, a few cuddles here and there. And he was very persistent. He loved me for years before I had even put the intention out to be with him. He was persistent and he chased and chased and chased. And one day it was incredibly, incredibly successful. How we ended up being together was we went away for OzTag, and we were assigned rooms with particular people. But at that stage, the person I was staying with, which was my brother at the time, he had dislocated his shoulder, and so he was no longer my roommate. And the person that he was sharing a room with, their partner ended up coming to stay as well. So he was bedless, and so I had extra room in my room. So that's how he ended up in my bed. Now, nothing happened at that stage. But over the weekend, we became incredibly close, more than just friends. It was, just a completely natural thing. We just felt like drawn to each other, completely connected to one another. On the last night, we did spend the night together, and again, nothing happened. We just talked and talked all night and laughed and laughed. And at the end of that night, he had said to me, "Now, where do we go from here? Because I want this and I want you to want this." And at that stage, he had recently left another relationship, and I told him, I don't want to do anything that you're not ready for. I think that I would like something from this, but I want you to invest in this relationship when you're ready to. And it didn't take long after that before we actually came together and became Facebook official. Through the power of intention and manifestation, I attracted the job of my dreams, and the career of my dreams, and I also manifested the love of my life. Every single moment that had happened to me, I don't regret for 1 second, even all the bad things that I've been through, because there's so many, they're just relationships, but I've been through other things as well that have brought me to this moment. But if none of those things had happened, I wouldn't be this person that I am today. I wouldn't have my husband and my beautiful new baby in my life. And I thank those people that put me through those traumas for allowing me to be this person now, because I don't regret any of it. I have thrived from it. I have become such a better person, a stronger person, and I am just so incredibly happy now. I never would have thought 11 years ago that this is where I was going to be now. I honestly didn't see a future for myself those years ago. I thought that was it for me, and that there was nothing. I felt like I was just going to be another burden to society. But here I am, thriving and loving life, and I have a great family and a great support system. I have great friends who I love so much. Healing. I made the conscious decision to be a better person. That's how I healed. I wanted to be better, and I wanted to do better, like I said earlier. I refused to settle for anything less than what I deserved. I knew my worth, and I knew that I was worth more than I had believed to be in the past. So the moral of all of this is to be who you are, find who you are through whatever means necessary. I hope that by sharing my story, I can encourage you to do the same. If you know anyone who's suffered through any domestic violence and you think they may need help, please share my video with them, share my story with them, because sometimes it just takes that one person to tell their story for others to jump on board as well and be like, hey, you know what, that happened to me as well. And it's not okay, and it's not right, and we deserve so much more than this. We deserve so much better than this, and we can create a change for our future generations of young women. Young women don't need to grow up where they think that this kind of behavior is normal. And so I really want to change the behavior and the attitudes surrounding violence towards women. And I hope that this conversation continues to happen. This is a type of conversation that needs to keep circulating. More people need to talk about it. More people need to open up, and they need to come forward, because it happens so much more than you would think it does. I really hope you enjoyed this video today. Thank you so much for allowing me to share this story with you. If it does resonate with you at all, or you think it may resonate with anybody else, please feel free to share, whether publicly or privately. My hope is that this story reaches at least one person that may need some assistance. So if you do feel like you need some extra support, please feel free to direct message me or email me. Otherwise, you can head over to whiteribbon.org.au, and they have a domestic violence hotline listed there, as well as some support networks if you may require. It also has a lot of information there in regards to violence, not just domestic violence, all types of violence. So that's where I got all of my statistics from today. So I'll try and keep active on this page as much as I can. Obviously, you see my little baby running around there, and so she keeps me really busy. And I've also got an older daughter as well, who also keeps me very busy. So I will try and stay as active as I can. But if you need me at all, I just want to create this safe space, a supportive network for women, where we could all come together and just share the love. Share each other's vibes, and just really connect with each other. So I hope you will join me on this journey as I search for ultimate wellness, completely holistically, mind, body and spirit. So please stay tuned for more.